Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Holyoke School Committee meeting. It is Monday, August 19th, 2024. It is 6:03 p.m. Roll call, please. Is it going to be Ms. Feliciano, or will it be Superintendent Receiver Soto?
Just confirmed, and it will be me today, unfortunately. Mayor Garcia,
Here.
Ms. LaFave,
Present.
Mr. Romero, Ms. Tensley Williams. Let me just confirm that I don't have any of them online. I do not have any of them online. So, Dr. Rivera Colon.
Here.
Dr. Gloria Caballero.
Presente.
Mr. Wellahan.
Here.
Mr. Collimore.
Here.
Ms. Wilson.
Here. You're missing one to my left.
Oh, thank you. I'm reading off of this sheet, so I apologize, Mr. Sheehan.
Maybe it should have been Ms. Feliciano. Present.
I deserve that. I deserve that.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Great. Just a few words first. On March 29th, 2023, Governor Healy signed into law an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations, which, among other things, extends the expiration of the provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2025. Specifically, this extension allows public bodies to continue holding meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at a meeting location and to provide adequate alternative access to remote meetings. The act does not make any new changes to the open meeting law other than extending the expiration date of the temporary provisions regarding remote meetings from March 31st, 2023 to March 31st, 2025. Also, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, I am hereby informing all attendees that a video and audio recording is being made of the meeting, and the meeting is being live streamed and run live on the city's community TV channel. Next on the agenda is the student showcase, which we do not have any listed for today. Following that is public comment. Did anyone sign up for public comment, Ms. Feliciano?
No.
Is there anyone on the Zoom that is in the attendee section that would like to speak? You may raise your hand now so that we can acknowledge you. You'd have to use your raise your hand icon.
Bring it.
Okay. All right. If you're feeling fresh, raise your hands. Okay, so we're moving on. We're going to move to communication and reports, student reports. We don't have a Holyoke High School North Campus student representative, but we do have our Dean Campus representative, so Mr. Kennedy.
Okay. First things first, August 16th kicks off our 9th grade orientation beginning at 8 a.m. in the cafeteria. Next, the class of 2025 yearbook theme will be a newspaper-style design, taking it back to the headlines and black and white print. I have literally never held a newspaper in my life, so this will be interesting. This year, we have the following elective: Intro to Philosophy, yearbook in Spanish. Next, senior privileges will be different this year. Seniors will have the opportunity to leave after their third block if they are eligible for senior privileges. That is different because since I've been here, senior privileges have been where students come in late, and we think it's more efficient if students come in or can leave early. That way, if they have a job that they want to pick up an extra shift on, they can do that after school. Next, and lastly, student government will be transitioning to a student council to follow the district's model of equity and diversity. That is all of my updates for today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Any questions? Nope. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Kennedy. Moving on to Vice Chair reports, training date. So as obviously we're going to be presenting today. Our local control subcommittee will be presenting the school committee capacity building plan. With that being said, there's going to be a lot of individualized training that we will have to start taking. So the first meeting in September, which is September 9th, our very first school committee, we're going to make this very transparent. So everybody's going to see us train. We're going to go ahead and just have a short meeting where we're just going to get a quick brief update of how the start of school started, and then from there we're going straight into our training. The first one will be in finance. Are there any questions in regards to that? Okay, great. The next thing is conflict of interest forms. Now that we're coming into the new school year, making sure that anyone who may have a conflict of interest, make sure you go onto the website, fill out the form, one to myself and one to, is it the city clerk, I believe? Or no, it's one to the city clerk, just, and also with the school committee. You would have to file, but thank you. Any questions on that? Nope, great. School calendar dates for the upcoming meetings. So December 9th, apparently it shows that we would have our meeting on the Tuesday after that Monday because it was a holiday. But actually, that's National Pastry Day. I don't know if that's really a holiday. I mean, we could look at it as a holiday if that's what you really want to do. But we didn't notice that there's a holiday. So we're going to revert back to December 9th meeting to that Monday versus the 10th. If I am wrong, Ellie, I know you're going to tell me. Okay. So with that being said, once it's moved back to the 9th, I want you to bring your best pastries. December 9th. Okay? Any questions? Okay. So we're going to go ahead and move to the superintendent receiver reports. Oh, we got a question. Mr.
So,
Sheehan.
Are we going to keep December 23rd since the schools are closed, or is that going to be
yeah.
an inconvenience? I think schools close the 22nd, Friday the 21st is or Friday the 20th, I think is the last day.
Yeah, so December 23rd. Actually, that's the whole vacation week. School committee can be nice. We'll take if that's the will of the body to take December 23rd off, we'll have the meeting December 9th. But obviously, if the other subcommittees, because the work doesn't stop, meet in between the first 3 weeks before that vacation, and then when we come back in January, we can go ahead and give updates as to what we did. Is that good with everyone? So we'll go ahead and cancel the December 23rd meeting. I know our superintendent receiver wouldn't mind. All right. You're up.
All right, included in your packet, I have a few updates for our first meeting. One being staffing. So I've been able to provide all of you with a list of all of our vacancies. We are in a little bit of better shape than we were last year. The last time we reported out on staffing, we had about 82 vacancies, and that was in March, 82 teaching vacancies. And in your report, what you see for as of last Monday was 72. The difference being that we actually have candidates in the pipeline. So I believe we have about 10 candidates in the pipeline that are not part of this report that are in the process of getting onboarded. So as of 8/12, which is last Monday, we're at approximately 62. This is consistent with what we're seeing across the state, across the country, and special education continues to be one of the areas of greatest concern in terms of being able to hire special education positions. So our chief of pupil services is working closely with our finance department to evaluate, what vendors are out there that can help fill the gaps that we see in these vacancies. And they're going to be reporting to me on what the next steps are. Schools are also in the process of creating alternative plans. So an example that I can give of even as recent as today, ideally we'd like to see in grades 3 to 5, we would like to see 3 teachers per grade level, regardless of enrollment. So at Lawrence, as an example, so that they can departmentalize. At Lawrence, we had really small class sizes in those grades with 3 teachers, and they're struggling to find teachers to fill those positions. So one of the changes that they're going to be making is collapsing. Instead of having 3 homerooms per grade, they're going to be collapsing it down to 2, which means if we get more students in, we probably would have to have a cap on before we start opening a new classroom. So that's just one plan. Every school is working with their supervisor to develop plans on based on the vacancies that they have. How are they going to make sure that they're ready for the start of the school year? But the biggest concerns are, like I said, special education. Middle schools obviously continue to be a concern there with the amount of vacancies, and then Lawrence being a smaller school, but that amount of vacancies. So our team is working extremely hard. We're seeing candidates apply to positions, which is much different than what we've seen in previous years. Like the last couple years, we'd have vacancies there all year and no applicants. It's changed. We've talked about this during our budget process that other communities are losing ESSER funding, and which is creating more people in the field that are coming to Holyoke to fill some of these vacancies. Other strategies that we've tried, so we have the ability to declare subject areas critical needs, or different schools critical needs. We've used that. So Sullivan has been added as one of our critical need locations, which means if you come to work at Sullivan, you get an additional stipend because it's a critical need location. And we've done that with a couple of our vocational programs that are really hard to fill. We've deemed them critical needs, which allows us to offer any incoming candidate an additional stipend on top of what their base pay would be. So those were some of the strategies that we've employed to help to help attract people to come to Holyoke Public Schools.
Ms. Wilson?
My question is the 11 vacancies listed under pupil services. Can you help me understand what those positions are and why they're not under the schools and why they're listed under pupil services?
Yeah, it could be district-wide itinerant service providers like school psychologists, or evaluation team leaders that they just show up in the district budget, not at a school-based budget. I'd be happy to provide you with a breakout of all 11 of those positions if
That'd be
you'd
great.
like.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Oh, Ms. Wilson?
So, looking at Donahue School, that there's 3 special education teacher vacancies. How many special ed teachers do they actually have on staff?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but I can certainly look up their staff
Because I'm just thinking,
allocation.
like, if there's 5 that are slated to be there and we have 3 vacancies.
There's more than 5 because we do have the ABL program there, so there's definitely special education inclusion teachers, and then there's special educations for their sub-separate programs.
And then under special education, does that include our paraprofessional, paraeducator staff? Are they listed in here, or would that be
They're not.
separate?
They're not listed in there. These are only positions that are in the HTA.
Okay, I would like an update on that as well.
I did write in. So as of Monday, we have 39 vacancies with 7 candidates in the pipeline. So we are about 88% staffed with our paraprofessional positions, which is better than where we were last year,
Yes,
but still
absolutely.
still not where we'd like to be.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? I just have one question in regards to the special education and the services. I know that everybody's been struggling across the board, especially with speech language pathology services and stuff, and also with the psychologists. There was time owed. Did we at least meet that? Because if we're gonna be adding to it, so what other measures can we be looking at to put into place so that what's written into the IEP, at least those services are met, plus whatever was owed to them?
Yeah, that is exactly what Marianne is working with Sean to figure out. Not just how can we fill these vacancies, but how can we make sure that we're catching up on our compensatory services. So Marianne is meeting with our finance team to figure out, like, here's the amount of vacancies that we have. What are some vendors out there that could help support, and with compensatory services in mind, and what could we afford within the budget.
Okay. Any other questions? No? So go ahead and move on to the update on the strategic plan.
Yes, so I did provide the school committee with a letter in your packet, and I believe an email last Thursday, just updating you on where we're at relative to the 18 benchmarks that we set for ourselves in the previous year. We do plan on providing a much more detailed look at every metric that we have listed in the strategic plan, and reporting out to the committee and the community where we're at. Early indicators show that our early literacy work is yielding gains. Our kids are growing for sure in grades K to 2. If this is any indication of what we're going to see on our MCAS data, I anticipate that we'll probably be relatively flat. Again, reminding everyone that this was the first year that we did rezone, so like a comparison from school to school is going to be really difficult, because Sullivan, what Sullivan is today compared to what Sullivan was or last year compared to what it was the year before, or Metcalf, and just all of our schools in general, with all the rezoning, it's really hard to put some teeth to a comparison from one year to the next, because a lot of the students are just different. Some schools had over 60% of their students have moved from one school to another school. But early indicators, that information is not really out yet. But if all of our assessment data is telling us we're going to see some progress in our third grade based on what we're seeing in early literacy STAR data, and we're going to be relatively flat in our non third grade, if I had to guess based on this information. But that information will come out later in the year, and we'll cover that as well. The other data point I wanted to lift is that I think, looking at closing the year, the amount of progress that our English language learners have made, we're struggling definitely in the progress they're making in high schools, but non-high schools we've met our benchmark and the target that we set for the year. And we've exited more ELL students than we have in the past few years, so we almost doubled those numbers. And when I when we collect all this information and have that report ready for you, those are just two really bright spots that I wanted to lift: our early literacy work and the work that our academics team and Rebecca Thompson and Jen Albury and all of our ELL teachers across the district is really coming, showing the results for those subgroups of students. We met about 12 out of the 18 benchmarks that we set, and partially met 5 of them. The one that we didn't meet is chronic absenteeism. So we met our benchmark for grades for elementary schools, but in middle and high school, we actually saw an increase in chronic absenteeism. So it's relatively flat from last year, from the year before to this year. We met our target in elementary, but in middle and high school, we saw a slight increase in chronic absenteeism. And, we just need to double down our efforts. The state has seen some progress statewide on chronic absenteeism going down, and they're putting together some resources and best practices. And just like we went in last year on teacher retention, we're going to be going in on attendance. It's something that we've been doing a lot of things around attendance. We have a family engagement coordinator at every single school. They've all taken on a caseload of chronic absenteeism students and just trying to troubleshoot with families. We have an attendance task force that meets every single month. We have attendance meetings happening weekly, but we really need to, clearly everything that we're doing is not yielding the results that we'd like to see. So we just need to dig a little deeper and figure out what are some best practices out there. What are we doing? That we need to stop doing? What are we not doing that we need to start doing? And even within some of our own structures, how can we improve them, right? We have an attendance meeting every week, but what do those attendance meetings look like? We have an attendance task force, but what's the focus of their work? And can we be utilizing that group better? We're launching a campaign. You're going to see this a lot this year. Here, aquí. And we are really pleading with our families that if we want to see the progress that we'd like to see for our students' academic achievement, we need our kids to be here. Over 48% of our kids are chronically absent, which means that they're missing 18 or more days of school. And the impact that has on our school cultures, the impact that has on the teacher's ability to keep up with, the pace of her teaching and making sure that, Anthony in the back of the classroom that's missed 25 days, how do I support Anthony and still, work with the other students that have been there almost every day and are ready to keep moving. So those impacts they have a huge impact on this, on a lot of what we're trying to do. And I just, plead with families to make sure they're getting their kids to school. I think about, when I was a kid, you guys maybe all heard the story of my science teacher trying to convince my mom that I was making a mistake in 8th grade in choosing the school that I was choosing, and my mom telling my science teacher, well, he's a grown man, he can make his own decisions. I was 12, and I have a 12-year-old son right now, and I can tell you right now, he's not a grown man, and he's not making his own decisions. So when he tells me I don't want to go to school, we push through that, and we make sure that he gets to school, whatever he's going through, and I'm just asking our families to put their best foot forward and make sure they're making every effort to prioritize getting their kids to school on time, because it matters.
Mr. Wellahan?
Thank you for that. I know we talked about this topic, numerous times over the last year, from the local level to the state level to the national level. So it's an issue that we've been discussing, like I said, in many ways. Is there maybe a packet of statistics that we can put together to provide the parents with, showing, just the scale of the more absence a person has, the less likely that they're going to they're going to graduate or they're going to go to college. You can put together those stats. There's something we
Yeah.
can put together, a packet to provide the parents with some hard, fact-based evidence,
Yeah.
instead of just pleading with them. Just, get them those stats. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mr. Wellahan, and we absolutely, we actually had a meeting this morning where we were looking at student data, and one of the ways we want to look at our student data is how our students who are chronically absent performing in comparison to their peers. So that's a great push, and I know that initially when we launched our attendance campaign a couple of years ago, the Attend Today, Achieve Tomorrow, that was going to be part of, we wanted to have banners out there, T-shirts made that had all of these statistics, and unfortunately that just wasn't implemented in a way that I'd like to see. And we got to double down and get back to, that's a great idea, and it'll definitely be a part of our plan moving forward.
Mr. Collimore?
Doug, what are we doing presently to improve our absenteeism?
Yeah, so I named some of the things. One of the things that we've done is we've invested in a family engagement coordinator at every single school. That's one resource that is intended to connect families to the school. And when kids are out, part of their role is to work with families to find out why and to support them in, particularly with a group of chronically absent families. That's one thing that we've done. Another thing that we're doing is that every school has regular weekly attendance meetings. I think those attendance meetings could be run better, and we need to provide the support to schools to make sure that that's happening. So that's another measure that we're doing, so that teams are actually getting together, reviewing attendance data, maybe reviewing a list of kids, and figuring out together collectively how are we going to support these students. One thing that we're also looking to do moving forward is, you guys have all seen the attendance reports that we provided in every single one of our updates, ongoing updates. There's a large category of unexcused absences. So one of the things that we want to do moving forward is be able to collect data on why our kids absent. Right now, probably 90% of the absences that we see, it's in an unexcused category, and that doesn't really help us get to a root cause of why. Is it unexcused because you're on vacation? Is it unexcused because you were sick and didn't provide a doctor's note? Is it unexcused because we tried to reach you and we weren't able to get a hold of you? We need to get better. So we are going to be, there's a feature that we have in our communication database that allows us to text the family and have them select why their kid was absent. So it'll be a text that says, hey, we noticed that Anthony was sick today. Can you pick from these options why Anthony was out? Or I said sick, but he was absent. Can you pick from one of these 3 options or 4 options why Anthony was out? And hopefully, if we get a lot of response, we'll be able to collect a lot of information from our families that'll help us, strategize around the big reasons why, why kids aren't showing up. I did talk about the attendance task force. So we meet with local partners like One Holyoke, Holyoke Medical Center, River Valley, and on a monthly basis, we bring all our family engagement coordinators and some of our attendance teams to just review some information. It's usually us showing them the work that we're doing around attendance, and we really need to work more collaboratively with our partners to figure out, like, here's what we're doing, and we love your feedback, but how are you helping? How are you supporting, River Valley or Holyoke Medical Center? It could be as simple as, like, are all your doctors, scheduling appointments, at 1 o'clock? Can we change that so that they're not scheduling appointments during the school day? That's one way that some of our medical partners could help combat this, chronic absenteeism problem. So those are some of the ways that we're trying to do it. We've looked at best practices. A lot of the things that we are doing is best practice. I just think we need to really evaluate what we're doing and do it better. And this is one, I hear from families all the time, Anthony, how can we help? This is one way families can help. Get your kids to school every day to the extent possible you can. That's the support that we need from our families.
Mr. Sheehan? You're good? Dr. Yadilera? Dr. Yadilera! Oh my God! I'm sorry. I was trying to blend it all together. Dr. Rivera Colon.
Thank you. One thing that I want to say is that when a student gets to that first 5 absences, right? They get like, I think I counted something around 8 communication that you get when you have reached that. And of course, I still can see how people could miss one of them, right? Like you get a call, you get a letter, you get an email, you get through the app that comes through your school, you get there were like several ways that you could get that information, right? And depending on how those communications happen and what they say, they might make families more likely to actually seek the help that they might need or not. When that is the first communication that you get from a school in that volume, in terms to say like, hey, this is really important, I think that at that point, that is too late. If that's how you're engaging with the family at that level, I think that that's too late, right? Like, how about 5 communications about these are resources that we have for families. These are things that we can help you out with before you actually get to the absenteeism, because sometimes what happens is that families feel like they got in trouble, right? Instead of seeing the school as a resource that could help. Even if you include in there as the last line, hey, we're here to help. Like at that point, the families may not feel at that point that they can have that. So I'm just bringing that as an example. I think that one of the things that would be important to think about as we are tackling this issue of attendance is how can we make sure that the schools are a resource for families, that they know this in an ongoing basis rather than, oh, you missed this many days of school. This is the first time that we're going to offer you help because this was really important, right? So just as things to think about as we move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not going to mess you up. And I'm going to go with Dr. Caballero Roca.
Thank you so much. Yes, you were talking, I was thinking, if the teachers have been trained into detecting bullying and harassment. So sometimes children do not open, they're not open, they do not disclose what is going on with them in the schools. And they just, one of the things that really add to, for them not to go to school is because they're being bullied or harassed. Bullying doesn't have to be necessarily physical. Verbal, there's so many ways of bullying and harassment. Also could be sexual, but also could be mental. And, all this creates an environment that is hostile for learning, and they don't want to go to school, where they see that teachers sometimes get bullied or that their friends get bullied. So my question is, well, are the teachers and professionals getting the training to really detect or know when a student is being bullied or harassed? Because I think that can also help.
Yeah, I mean, the answer to that question is yeah, we have required training for through GCN for all of our staff, and that is definitely one of the modules that they go through. But um, you know, so yes, there is some training. I don't know that the effectiveness of that training, but all staff do get it. Sorry for the feedback.
No, it's great. Thank you. Oh, okay. Mr. Sheehan.
Okay, I just have a question and a comment that you just made that you don't know the effectiveness of the training, but they get it. I mean, let's get better training then.
Okay.
I just mean like, why are we putting something like? Are you saying the training that we're giving isn't effective by GCN?
No, we just haven't measured, like, we haven't, it's hard to measure an online training platform on what is required for mandated reporting and what the bullying, all the training that you get around bullying. Like, I don't even know how to begin monitoring what the effectiveness of it. How do you measure whether that worked or didn't?
Okay, so I guess my point is, and to me, it doesn't even matter what the training topic is, but everything that we are putting out, you should consider effective. If not, it needs to be changed. So
Okay.
if we're just going through steps to check a box, then we're doing the wrong thing.
Mhm.
And I would hope that your senior leadership team, whoever's making these recommendations to you, is putting out training that they believe is going to be effective. And if it can't be monitored, then we need to do something better.
Okay, so I hear the part about the text messaging thing.
Yeah.
I just have some concerns on that. Phones do get changed a lot. Okay. I know I have one patient that changed it 5 times in 3 months. So, what would be the next step if that? Because when we're looking at monitoring and the data collection on it, right? It's about holding accountability. You're pleading with families. So then, if you're not getting the response, or even let's just say you're just sending the text message, you're gonna put, I'm gonna assume your son or daughter, whomever was out today. You're not gonna put a name because you also don't know who has that phone number at that time. It could actually have been changed and now it was given to another person. And what if that person's like, okay, yeah, one. And it's really not them. It's kind of collecting false data. But I mean, we'll get that. But what if you don't get a response? Then what are we going to do as part B? Is someone going to call and try to contact the family and say, hey, I noticed that your child wasn't here yesterday or today. Is everything okay? Is this something we can help you with? Blah, 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 blah. Don't automatically just say, are they sick or anything? Just offer help and support first to hear what the response is going to be. You talked about appointments, the 1 o'clock slot. I'm going to be quite honest. When you're looking at psychiatry, you're going to take whatever's given to you. If it's 10 a.m., you're going to be there at 10 a.m. Your child's not going to the school. Reason being, there's not enough child psychologists, psychiatrists out there. So when you're getting that med appointment and you need those scripts, you're going to be there. You miss those appointments, these people are very quick to drop you, like there's no tomorrow, and then who's going to be prescribing for your child? Because now you got to go into a wait list with another CSO agency or another psychiatry office, and the wait list is very long. Expecting everyone to wait until after 3 o'clock? Mainly open till 5. So how many patients can they actually see? I know and I get it, it's very hard, but if they have medical complex needs that they have to go see these providers and specialists, then we've also got to come up with a better way to actually still meet their needs in between, because technically if they are going to these appointments and it's a required appointment, it's not for a tooth cleaning, then what are we going to do to help them? Even if it's providing the packet for the rest of the school day or whatever, so they can take, and then you follow up in the morning. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Mildred, Miss LaFave, what I was trying to articulate was an example of, what conversations could we have with our partners. That was not intended in any way of saying, hey, here's a solution. I was trying to describe that when we meet with our attendance task force and we meet with our partners, it's usually us showing them, here's our data, here's what we're doing. And I think that one way we can improve how that task force is used is to, yes, do that, but also to see how they can support and what changes they can make to help help combat this attendance issue. So I used an example that wasn't intended really to be a solution or anything like that. It was just an example that I threw out there.
All right. Thank you. I have Miss Wilson, then I have Mr. Sheehan.
I'm fine, thank you.
Oh, okay. Mr. Sheehan.
So I'm wondering, when think about chronic attendance and the start of the school year to come, are teachers and principals pulling the data from students who are individualized students that were chronically absent last year and meeting with families now as they prepare for this school year, talking about the importance of attendance?
Teachers aren't doing that right now. Over the summer, our Stephen Mogel, who is who was overseeing all of our family engagement coordinators. That's something that he has been working with our family engagement coordinators to start to identify those families now and start working with them to express the importance of getting changing that. And that's tied into the retention conversation that we had towards before the school year ended, around that there was a lot of discussion about attendance and academic proficiency and looking at that more regularly and having conversations with families. That was some of the work that they did. I think the really what I wanted to raise today is that we really have to evaluate what we're doing and figure out if we're doing things poorly, do them better. If we're not doing things that we need to start doing, then do that. And I use the teacher retention process and the rezoning process as an example of, like, we got stakeholder input, we created a task force. We reviewed all of this and ended up with some recommendations. I really want to go in on attendance and chronic absenteeism this year to really pressure test some of the stuff that we're doing and make sure that we're the things that we are doing are our best practice, and that we're getting better at supporting families and students to get to school more regularly.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to the Yonder procedure update.
Yeah, so these were procedures that were already vetted through policy, and I believe the DEI subcommittee also looked at these procedures. Starting our planning for the upcoming school year, our school leaders have expressed really needing to adjust our practice with the Yonder bag. When we first came to the committee, we talked about having visited schools that have implemented this successfully. One of them being Central High School over in Springfield. And written into our procedures was that Central actually has a process where kids walk in, they show that they have a Yonder bag, they show they have a phone in their Yonder pouch. They go through, and if they don't have a Yonder bag, that they search their bags to make sure they don't have a phone. Our school leaders are expressing that if we really want this Yonder bag program to work, that is something that we need to move forward with, that we need to adjust in our procedures. I did not want to make a change that big for the upcoming school year. It wouldn't be implemented anyway day one, because we are looking at supply chain issues on the Yonder bag, so we're already kind of behind in getting these supplies in. But I just want to be perfectly clear that, like, I do not want to move forward with this change in our practice if it's not something that this committee would support. But I did bring our principal. You could see Lori McKenna and Rue and Lynn Bachardo over there in case anyone had any questions for them, why they think this is an important change to the procedure and why they are recommending that that we move forward with this change.
Okay, Ms. Wilson.
First of all, I see it being a staffing nightmare. Trying to check every student's bag as they come through a door, what time our students started to go into a building, and who's going to be staffing that. And great, you're going to search my bag, so I'm just going to keep it on my body. I mean, it's a 2-second workaround. A kid's going to learn after the first time a bag's searched that, oh, they're just going to search my bag, so I'm just going to keep it on my person because they're not going to search my person. So I just don't feel that a search is warranted for every single student who reports they don't have a phone.
Mr. Kennedy.
A few things. First of all, Superintendent Soto, approximately how much money has the district spent on Yonder bags this school year?
I don't have that information on the top of my head. I believe 40. Okay, so I'm getting the nod that it was $40,000 this past school year, and I think it's going to be more next year. Or no, $40,000.
$40,000. Okay, that seems like a very wise way to spend $40,000. That was just one thing. Number two, it's amusing to me that the district thinks that students aren't going to get their phone past the searches. Staffing also. Yeah, that's going to be a nightmare because we had 3 searches last year here at Dean, 3 or 4 searches here at Dean, and it took the students about an hour to get through there. So you talk about time off learning. That's time off learning. And we had just our regular staff who have 100 other things to do, searching students' backpacks. Also, instead of taking a look in the mirror and wondering why students are constantly on their phones, why students are constantly chronically absent, why teachers don't want to work here and aren't applying for positions. You said they have started applying for the positions. Not enough teachers have applied for the positions. Instead of looking why these things are happening, why students don't want to come to school, you're putting more bars on the windows in these schools. Look at the curriculum. Look at the way students are taught. Talk to the students, not 3 or 4 students.
Point of order.
4 students.
Stick to the agenda, the Yonder procedure.
Yonder, you're right, Yonder. I'm sorry. That is still, why are students on their phones all the time? Why don't they want to put in their Yonder bags? Please, just look.
I'm going to move it to Dr. Caballero Roca and then Mr. Sheehan.
Since there are some of the school leaders here, I'd like to hear from them what they think about this policy.
So we have Principal Rue
And Miss McKenna.
and Miss McKenna. And are we bringing up the other principal or just them 2 for right now?
Miss Burchard is here as well. If and Mr. Tiamiano, if they.
By all means, if you can come to where Miss Feliciano is. And please make sure that the green light is on and just state your name and your title.
I have a point of order before
we have a point
start,
of order.
please. What is the
I have Mr. Sheehan here. I'm sorry, not Mr.
to
Sheehan.
the chair? What is the point of dealing with this tonight? Is the school committee making a recommendation, or are we just sending this to a subcommittee? Because if it's going to a subcommittee, this discussion should happen there. So what is the point? Because there's no motion on the floor. There's no business right now.
So is there a motion to refer to the policy subcommittee?
No.
I haven't heard anything.
I'll make that motion.
So I have a motion by Mr. Sheehan to refer to the policy subcommittee, seconded by Dr. Rivera Colon. Any discussion? All those.
Question.
Okay. Dr. Caballero Roca.
Does that mean that we won't have the response from the school leaders now?
It wouldn't be now, but they would be going to the policy subcommittee.
Because they're here now.
So with that being said, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we have 2 oppositions and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yays. So motion passes. The yonder procedure update will be referred to the policy subcommittee for discussion. And if the leaders could be there, speak with the subcommittee, any recommendations. As our receiver superintendent had mentioned, this is not something that's going to be implemented on Monday, August 26th. There's still much that needs to be kind of hashed out and done. But we hope to see you at that meeting. Sorry.
What we could do is we could pull together some information and share it with you ahead of time so that you get on our
Absolutely.
thinking, so then you can see where we're coming from. So
And
we
the
can go into
data
that.
as well, any
Yep.
data that you collected from last year.
Yep, absolutely.
Great. Thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and move on to new business. First under new business is the superintendent receiver evaluation. This is the evaluation that was received from DESE. So is there a motion that the school committee vote to receive the superintendent receiver evaluation from DESE? So I have a
Second.
motion by Mr. Collmore, seconded by Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? We're going to go with Ms. Wilson, then we'll move on to Mr. Wellhand.
So in preparation for moving out of receivership, one thing I did look at is I was looking at the DESE form for rating superintendents for their evaluations. And, I guess, my question is, and this is just a general question. I'm not asking anyone, but, I'm kind of wondering, is there any rationale why the rating categories are different that the state is using than the one that I'm just thinking about, the process and trying to transfer it over to us in the future. And the categories that the state uses is different than the category that's on the DESE superintendent form. Just first and foremost. So, when I think about continuity, when I think about, understanding the process, I just want to, speak to the fact that as we are learning this skill set to transfer it over, it just doesn't seem like it's going to be a smooth transition for us to move to the DESE form that's required rather than, the receivership form that's being used now. I'm hoping that made some sense. You're looking at me.
Who I am or he is?
You are. Ms. Lefebvre.
Sorry, I'm doing one of those. No, because you know what? Just thinking about what you were saying, when the format, well, the process that we're going to be hearing about in just a few, it'll be not the next one, but the following one. The next one, hopefully, it'll be just as quick. That's what our job is to do, is to create that evaluation along with the community advisory team. Obviously, for the first year, like this year, they're going to want our feedback and to develop those measures that we're going to be looking at through the data collection. But after that, it's really about what are we going to be focused on. So when you're creating that strategic plan, after this one finishes, right, and the school committee has control again, then we're going to be looking and evaluating based on what we have in that strategic plan. Right now, the evaluation is based on the turnaround plan. So what are the different sections? So it's the whole child family engagement curriculum. It's all those separate things that they're looking at, those categories that obviously 10 years ago we weren't faring so well. So that is the focus, and that's how they base theirs. Once we get into ours, obviously that will more than likely look different. So that's why I was looking at it like that.
No, I just find it interesting that the Department of Education has set up a process with categories for every single school employee that goes through the evaluation process with these particular categories of ratings, and yet they don't use that same scale for a
The
receiver.
receiver.
You know what I mean? As far as, for someone understanding the process, it doesn't seem to the continuity is not there.
Gotcha. All right, let me see if I remember correctly. I believe I had Mr. Sheehan, or are you going to tell me no? I was wrong. I had, and I'm not going to mess up your name, Dr. Rivera Colon. Didn't you raise your hand? Oh my God, I'm seeing things. Okay. All right, so with that being, oh, it was Mr. Wallihan. I was eventually going to get down the line. Go for it.
Thank you. Just want to thank Desi for the hard work that they put together. I know it's a challenging document, hard work. So I just want to thank them for me. And I know we had a local super attendant out here in Western Mass that was they got their first what do you call it? Evaluation. It was like needs improvement. So it's kind of a daunting task, and just to have your hard work out there in the public, it's hard for anyone. So just want to thank Mr. Soto and just want to thank Desi for their hard work. Thank you.
Seeing no more discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so motion passes unanimously. Next is Leadership, Accountability, and Measurement Subcommittee. Do I have a motion to the school committee vote to approve the reestablishment of the Leadership, Accountability, and Measurement Subcommittee? Is there a motion?
Can we just get an explanation as to the scope of this?
I didn't discuss it yet. Okay, so real quickly. Leadership, Accountability, and Measurement.
Point of order. I need a I'm sorry. I make a motion.
Make a motion to what?
Going back to, do you
To
have a
vote to
motion?
approve the reestablishment.
Yes.
So I have a motion by Ms. Wilson.
Second.
And second, Dr. Roca, Caballero Roca. Okay. So now, open for discussion, so I'll go back to you, Ms. Wilson.
So, what's the scope of this new subcommittee?
So it's really not a new subcommittee. It's a committee
Reestablishment
that
of
we had,
the what's the scope of the reestablishment of this subcommittee?
That's where the superintendent evaluation hiring process is. So the reestablishment of it will be the committee that will be working with the community advisory team when we're looking at the superintendent process. That was one of the committees that we had previous to receivership, and so that I think it's very vital that we reestablish that committee. And not only that, like we've mentioned before, there's going to be a lot of work, and we're going to hear about that next. So we've got to make sure that we've got the people in place, really do the work, make sure that we are holding these meetings and making sure that we're meeting every goal that we've got to meet. So any further discussion or question? Mr. Wellahan.
Yeah, I agree with the committee being formed. I'm going to vote no on the committee. One member that you recommended for this committee whose attendance has been, for lack of a better word, poor. So I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Well, I haven't even gotten to that one. That's the second recommendation. So with the first recommendation that we have, is there any further discussion for the reestablishment? Mayor Garcia?
Do you heard just Mr. Wellahan heard what he said? So this first one, we're going to create it. The second one, I think, approves the members. So
yep.
I'm not sure how you're going to vote. Just want to make sure you understood, so that way we can get the committee at least
formed.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. Okay. So all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Good. Motion passes unanimously. Going on to number B, That the school committee vote to approve the appointments of the following members to the Leadership, Accountability, and Measurement Subcommittee, and that would be Dr. Gloria Caballero Roca, leading as chair, Mr. Gustavo Romero, and Mr. Devin Sheehan. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So motion has been moved by Mr. Sheehan.
Second.
Is there a second by whom? By Ms. Wilson. Now, Mr. Wallahan, you want to repoint it? No? Okay.
Well-
All right, just asking.
Have
Mayor Garcia.
have each of these members accepted the appointment to serve on these?
No, I haven't reached out to them for acceptance. We all have a job and a duty to do. We have stretched very thin our other members and the expectations that we've asked of them, and they have a lot of work on their plate. And I think it's time that every of the other members start stepping up and really helping out. I understand the concern from Mr. Wallahan, and again, that's why you have a vice chair, that if that member is not present at any meetings, if there's a member that's not present, the vice chair will then be there at that meeting. That's why we got to make sure the vice chair knows of when the meetings are, so that way we're there, just like leadership was just here, and they sat there, and then they still went home, right? So whether they're going to be present, participating or not, we'll still have that member that can be there to cover. Okay, so I get the concerns, but again, look at the name of it: leadership and accountability. Accountability is the word right there. So we each got to hold each other accountable, making sure that we get the job done. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next on the agenda is everything everybody's been waiting for, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Dr. Yadilet Rivera Colon on the presentation of Building School Committee Capacity for Local Control Plan.
Thank you so much. So today we get to talk about our Holyoke School Committee Capacity Building Plan to resume local control of Holyoke Public Schools. This really encompasses professional development to assume school committee roles and responsibilities, and elements of these plans may be adjusted as we need. You want me to show the slides? Give me one sec.
I don't have what she wants to share, but she is a co-host, so
I'll be right. That's better. Here we go. So one of the first things that we did in terms of updates for this plan was to change its name. Because originally we had it as the transition plan, and that was something that was a point of confusion for the public. So we wanted to change that name to the Building the Holyoke School Committee Capacity to Resume Local Control of Holyoke Public Schools. This includes professional development for the roles and responsibilities, and just to make sure that everybody knows that as we go through and we learn more and go through the process, some elements of these plans may be adjusted based on any changes that occur. Basically, the goal of this plan is to empower our school committee in the path to local control, so learning the ropes, making sure that all Holyoke School Committee members receive training on key areas like setting educational goals for the district, hiring and evaluating the superintendent, fiscal responsibilities like finance and budget, working with unions, collective bargaining, and policy making. So making sure that we continue to focus on improvement, collaboration with stakeholders, and maintaining legal and fiduciary responsibilities. As part of the plan, we established first a timeline where we started our initial discussion back in March 15, and we scheduled 8 meetings, and today is our meeting where we're actually looking at the now the capacity building plan, but that you can see how we were building through all this plan, and we had and all these meetings were open to the public. 4 key areas that we're going to be focused on: finding the best leader, developing the process to hire a strong superintendent for our schools, providing effective feedback, being able to have everything that we need in order to supervise and provide for regular feedback, managing our money wisely, learning more about how to manage that budget effectively, and developing strong policies, making sure that we have clear rules that guide our decisions. How we're getting there: each area will have specific tasks and deadlines. We'll be learning new skills. We'll be able to know setting the goals, helping setting the goals so that we know what we're looking for and what success looks like for our current receiver. And we'll find, of course, ways to keep everyone informed. So we had the opportunity to, and I'm going to switch this for 1 second. We had the opportunity to look through this, and oh my goodness. I don't know. I broke it. Here we go. So we worked through all the different work streams that we were looking for, like I mentioned before: hiring the superintendent, evaluation, finance and budget, and policy development. Note that this plan is open to the public and available. One of the things that we were still looking for or thinking more about was some of the things that we needed to update, as well as the formation of our community advisory. So I'm going to switch that. Oh, and hopefully I don't break it again. There we go. So the summary of the updates: changes that we made to the original plan that was used in our last meeting, officially changing the name to Holyoke School Committee Capacity Building Plan, which is the goal of this plan, addition of school committee legal counsel, selection of our policy priorities, and we discussed having Section B, board governance and operations, Section H, negotiations, and also to make sure and double check that we have our budget calendar aligned with the updated district's calendar. Things that we, after discussing all the changes, making sure that we have all the answers from DESE and and I say it again, thank you to our DESE partners, Lauren Wu and Jennifer Wu, who were amazing through this process, and also to the commissioner for guidance in this process. Now today, as part of our local control subcommittee meeting, we one of the things that we came up together was to recommend to report out on updates on the implementation of the plan back to DESE every 2 months. So that's the summary of where we have been, where we're coming from, where we have been to. And then we have also our community advisory team, which at this point, one thing to really point out is that it's under the guidance of the school committee. The school committee will determine the direction of the community advisory team. One example of where we can start using the advice of our community advisory team would be once DESE tells us that we are going to be exiting receivership, being able to come forward with the committee together and establish how to support the development of competencies from the community that they would like to see in our next superintendent of the district. And with that, that's my report. Questions, concerns?
purposes of discussion, I'll make a motion that we vote to approve the final plan of the building school committee capacity for local control presented by the local control subcommittee.
Second.
Motion's been made. Thank you, Devin. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded, Dr. Gloria Caballero Roca. Open for discussion. Questions, comments?
Thank
Well,
you.
Ann.
Yeah, I just want to thank Dr. Cologne for all her hard work, getting the process going. Thank you.
Mrs. Wilson.
This was a huge endeavor. I don't want to say last minute, but but in some ways it was a prayer, a hope, and then we hit the ground running, full out sprint, like Olympian sprint, I would actually say, to make to get this plan in place in the amount of time. So I just want to recommend everyone who put effort into this plan for a brighter future for the city of Holyoke and the local control. Thank you.
Anybody else? Nope. Want to be part of this vote? I'll add a few words to myself, and also I just want to recognize too that our state representative Patricia Duffy is here in the audience. Thank you so much, Pat, for being here, being so incredibly supportive through this whole thing. Pat and I, we meet every 2 weeks, and certainly this is the one item that's first on our agenda every time we have met, all the way to leading to the point where new commissioner came in and set the path forward. And so certainly want to acknowledge and thank the commissioner for being such an incredible partner beginning when it was in February or so when this kicked off, when we didn't feel like we were partners at all in this whole process, and just acknowledging the fact that it's never been done and none of us knew what to do, but we were going to figure it out together and agree to come to the table himself. And it was a brand new day after that. And so certainly what's in front of us has been a total of 8 meetings that took place between the local control subcommittee and the commissioner to come up with this path forward. Now, the big question that folks ask me all the time is, all right, so when are we getting out of receivership? Is it going to be tomorrow? Is it going to be the start of the school year? Well, so it's going to be as quickly as this board can move in capacity building. And this plan outlines what it is we need to do, and the vice chair is going to keep a tight rope on each and every one of us to make sure that we hit our target so that we get trained up and ready, because once we are in control, just so that the public understands, a lot of the members here on this side of the table haven't been on a board while we were in control, and there is a level of responsibility to it that is critical to support the day-to-day operations of the district, and stumbling in that process, there's no time or room for that. So we want to make sure we're fully prepared, capable, and ready when that transition starts, that we can be as fluid as possible. So yes, good job, Dr. Yadilet, and every members who helped get us to this point. And let's approve this thing so that we can start focusing on building this advisory committee and start engaging the stakeholders through implementation.
Just a follow up. Thank you. I would also like to thank the members of the school committee that were here before me, because this school committee kept meeting, kept working hard, so that now Yadilet had that path, built by all these people who really were here working hard, and it was easier for you because the school committee continued being an active committee, even though they were in receivership.
So is the recommendation is that the school committee we already did
Devin
that.
made the motion. We
Devin.
we're in the motion. And we were kind of stalling until you got back, so we didn't vote without you. But
sorry. Thank you for stalling. Let's make it unanimous. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Motion passes unanimously. Excellent. Thank you again, Dr. Rivera Colon. But your job doesn't stop there, because the local control subcommittee will continue doing the work that they've been doing. All right, moving on to Section D, policy revision. As you can see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 policies. We have, Dr. Rivera Colon?
Sorry, I forgot one thing.
Oh, go for it.
So one of the things that we did was to recommend to report out to DESE every 2 months. So
Oh, every 2 months?
Yes.
Oh, every other month, right?
other month.
Oh, okay. Okay, starting September?
yes,
Okay. Yep, I wrote that down.
okay.
Thank
Just
you.
making sure.
All right. So for policy revisions, we have BA, School Committee Operational Goals, BAA, Evaluation of School Committee Operational Procedures, Evaluation of School Committee Operation. Oh, that's what I just said. BB, School Committee Legal Status, and BBAA, School Committee Member Authority. If you looked at the attachments, you will see that anything that was highlighted with a line across is the words that we're going to omit. Everything red in caps is the words that we would like to put in there to replace. So with that being said, the recommendation is that the school committee vote to recommend that the superintendent receiver review the recommendations and post for feedback comments for 2 weeks. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, so I have Mr. Collmore, seconded by Ms. Wilson. Any discussion?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
On BBAA, one of our members came to us.
BBAA. Okay.
BBAA, School Committee Member Authority. And there was just a recommendation that we change bullet number 9 to refer questions and complaints to the property school personnel / department instead of the term. So removing the term authorities and replacing that with personnel / department.
Okay, let me.
It
can
was
I cue
recommended.
that
I'm
on
not
here?
sure how the full body feels about that.
Mr. Sheehan.
I think it should just be to refer whatever that line's going to be to the superintendent.
So refer that.
Individual school committee members shouldn't be going to department head. Like, we have one person to go to, and that's the superintendent.
So that recommendation will then be to write that down, Mr. Soto.
So it would be, may I clarify?
Go ahead.
So number 9 would be to refer questions and complaints to the superintendent. And
So-
that's with regards to our authority, school committee members' authority.
School committee will function as a body. The duties and obligations of the individual committee member may be enumerated as follows: to refer questions and complaints to the. Oh, I can't change on here. So
Yeah, I need access to. I don't know who's the owner of this document.
Not
no,
me.
that would be me.
That'd be you, not me.
I'll work with you on that.
Okay.
Okay. So. Well, not here. I have to go from the outside. As a matter of fact, let me do that right now because I know myself.
Can I?
BBA, you said? Or
BBAA.
BBAA number 9.
But I'm gonna. May I speak further?
Absolutely.
Thank you. It does say the duties and obligations of the individual committee member may be enumerated as follows. And then if we were to say to refer questions and complaints to the, would individually we'd go to the superintendent, or individually would we go to the chair, vice chair? I'm just asking a process. From the standpoint, would each one of us be directing our questions to the superintendent, and would that be maybe burdensome where some could be directed to the chair, vice chair, just for process perspective?
I'm wondering if it has to do with district concerns. Say that you get reached out by a constituent.
I think I understand. I'm sorry. I'm getting, my brain's starting to defuzz. I think it's actually if there's a concern over any of our programs, any of the laws, any of, things of that sort. So I think the proper school authorities, I think, would be able to say remain back to the superintendent as was previously spoken.
So I'm changing it.
We haven't voted on that yet.
Okay. So, kind of amending that one. So should we take these separately, or then should we just?
Substitute school authorities to
The superintendent.
Yep.
refer questions and complaints to the superintendent.
Okay. And it's going to be superintendent. It's part of the policy. Yeah, these are the policies that we reviewed, and we didn't get through all of them at the retreat. And obviously these are not all the ones that we reviewed. But as we've made the changes, we were taking them in pieces so that it's not becoming overwhelming. So we brought forth the first 4. Our next meeting, I have 1, 2, 3 more. We're just going section by section, kind of not to overwhelm. Okay? All right. Is there any further discussion? So with the amendment to change section 9 on BBAA, school member authority, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have 1 absent. 1 absent. Okay. All right, great. Moving on to orders. Section E, introduced by committee member John Wellahan, that the school committee refer to the receiver superintendent on having students lead the school committee meetings on the Pledge of Allegiance once a month.
Thank you. This topic came up at our last joint meeting with the city council. Just a little background. The city council had made a order around 10 years ago or so to invite one student each meeting to assist the city council in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, so that was the heart of the order, and for whatever reason, that order was never fulfilled. The applications were never performed. Okay, so I think the council is reviewing their orders, and that order just, for whatever reason, went by the wayside. So it was referred to the joint meeting, and we suggested that maybe the school committee can, school department / school committee can maybe take this over. I think we recommended maybe, I would like to see a class. Each meeting, the school can have a one homeroom or one class assist the city council with the Pledge of Allegiance. So I don't know whether this body wants to refer that to the policy committee. Do we want to discuss it here? I know Mr. Soto was at the meeting. Not sure if he had any concerns, but that was our thought, that maybe instead of one student, just to make it more broad and have a class and a rotating schedule. Each school can just take a turn at it. So those are our thoughts.
Mayor Garcia?
Make a motion to forward recommendation Anthony Soto.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Is that what the? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So.
Okay,
so
so I have a motion by the mayor. Is there a second? So Gloria. So hold on, Mayor and Gloria, Mr. Sheehan.
Okay, so just so I understand the order, because I'm not sure what's written is what you said. So this says to have students lead the Pledge of Allegiance at school committee meetings, which I'm fine with that, obviously. But should this be to organize for students to lead the Pledge of Allegiance at city council meetings?
No, I think it's just
Okay.
just take care of our
So, what I will say is that would be the city council to decide because that is their meeting. It's not for them to go during the joint city council school committee. I know that I believe we had a talk about this and you mentioned, even here, if we, we start moving that forward. So one of the things that I was thinking when I put this on here is we have the student showcase. So we could have the students that are here for the student showcase to lead us off in the Pledge of Allegiance, and at least the students every month, at least doing that. But when it comes to the city council and what we do, I think they should handle that. Mr. Wallahan.
My only question is, what is the capacity of this room for the number of people based on the fire department? I get concerned when there's 60, 70 people.
Did you want to answer that? Or, I mean, if we have to move, I think we've moved before. But I mean, the Pledge of Allegiance.
Well, excuse me, if we're bringing in a class like I'm envisioning of, 30 students and their parents, I know we had a student showcase in here a month ago or so. There had to be plus us and 60 people in here. I like to know what the capacity is for the fire regulations in this room.
We can get that. We can get that information. I think it's going to be hard to get like a lot of people to come just for the Pledge of Allegiance. It would be more feasible to get a student on a rotating basis to do that. But even then, I anticipate there being some challenges with making that happen. But that's much more feasible than getting an entire class.
Mr. Collimore.
I'm just a question of who is going to coordinate this. I don't believe the school committee, it have to be someone from administration to coordinate who's going to come here and what time and the whole business.
So that's what we have Ms. Feliciano for, but Student Showcase is always on our agenda, Mr. Collin. We have students coming that, some have come for singing, some have come to show us their cheerleading, their dance routines. It's been a wide array of things. We can use those same students that are here for that purpose to lead us off in the Pledge of Allegiance. It's not us asking for another school to send grade 3 over here to lead us off in the Pledge of Allegiance. It's whomever is on our student showcase, which we're always, it's spread out. So it's not just one school all the time. It's different schools, different types of programs. They come out and they start us off on the Pledge of Allegiance. And then right after that, guess what? It's time for them to showcase, so that's basically what it is. So whoever's going to be up for student showcase, then obviously we let them know that they have to be here punctual because they're going to be leading off the Pledge of Allegiance. And again, it's all based on the receiver superintendent, if this is something that can be done.
Then it's just going to say to me that every meeting we're going to have a showcase.
No.
We've always had showcase. Today we don't have one because school hasn't started. But they always, sometimes there hasn't been, but at least once a month, because that's something that we discussed, at least once a month that we can have a student showcase, then those would be the students to lead us off in the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'll tell you one thing, if 1 month we don't have any student showcase, we got student reps. They can lead us off in the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'm sure we can find somebody to do that. Any further question? Okay, so the motion was to refer. The motion was. I'm sorry. To refer to the receiver superintendent on having students lead the school committee meetings on the Pledge of Allegiance once a month. And then something that I had mentioned was one great way that we could do this and incorporate it is by utilizing student showcase participants. But we're just referring it for him on having students lead the school committee meetings on the Pledge of Allegiance once a month. So we had the motion by Mayor Garcia, seconded by Dr. Caballero Roca. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so motion passes unanimously. The next one introduced by committee member Mildred LaFave, that the school committee refer the parochial schools meal program to the Finance and Operations Committee for discussion. So I have
Second.
Mr. Sheehan, seconded by Mr. Collmore. Any discussion? No? Great. All those in... Oh, Dr. Rivera Colon?
Just as the function of the school committee is to educate the public, can you tell us more about what this means?
So as you know, this has been out. I'm going to go ahead with you. You want to go?
Yeah, this is on the agenda because a letter went out to the parochial schools that we are basically giving them two options on how to continue in our free meal program. One of them being just paying for the meals flat out, and the other being, hey, we're happy to continue to provide the free meal program for you, but if we incur any losses to the district, that you agree to cover those losses. So I admittedly, I feel like that communication was a little too fast, and we are slowing that down, working with them this year, and eventually coming up with a plan. Long story short, it cost the district $40,000 last year to run the meal program for them. We provide staffing, we provide drivers. There's some waste involved in, hey, we need 50 meals, but only 30 kids are eating. Stuff like that. That actually ends up costing Holyoke Public Schools to something to the tune of $40,000. So we need to come up with a plan with them to make sure that, there's different strategies that we can minimize that cost or that loss to the Holyoke Public School meal program. And we're going to work with them this year to figure that out. But kind of this upcoming school year is really going to be business as usual. We're going to continue to operate like we have, but be very transparent with them. Here's how you did this month. Here are some strategies that you can implement to reduce the costs and then eventually come up with a plan where, they're agreeing to cover any costs, because it's not, our intention is not to harm them in any way. We want to be partners with them and support, but we also can't lose our funding for within Holyoke Public Schools to support that program.
Thank you.
Mr. Collmore?
Yeah, that's a question. Right now, you're just talking about parochial schools. Is there any other people out there that we have to deals with?
One that I could think of, I'm not sure if we're still doing it, but we were providing meals to the senior center program. So, and we work with them on minimizing those costs, but any programs like that, we're happy to support and be good partners, but we just can't do it at an operating loss.
That's one of my questions. Operating costs. Is it going to snowball here and go to other charter schools or whatever that they want to get into the same thing? That we're going to need to support them?
This is only
we're referring this to the Finance and Operations Committee because I think that's a huge discussion that needs to happen there. If there's further discussion that you guys feel with the Joint City Council School Committee then that's something that if one of the counselors wants to bring forward, because the senior center as well, if that's part of it, that's something that they're involved with, then I think that's important as well. But right now, it's to refer to the finance and operations committee to look at the financial aspect of it and the effectiveness of the program, and making sure that we're still, trying our hardest to work with the parochial schools, but it's got to be, 50-50 here. Any further questions? Nope. Great. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passed. Next is the meeting minutes. Whatever. So that the school committee approve the regular school committee meeting minutes of June 10th. Is there a motion?
Motion. So moved.
Okay. So, Miss Wilson, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Collmore, any discussion? Mr. Wellahan.
Thank you. Yeah, the open meeting law states that the minutes are supposed to be record our votes here and nay. They're also supposed to capture the discussion of the meetings, and some of these minutes I see just the vote being taken, and there's nothing on the discussion that was set forth from the members. They'll sit here for a couple hours discussing merits of an issue back and forth, and I don't see that in these minutes. So I'm hoping to, to me, it's almost a violation. Okay, because again, you're supposed to capture the discussion. You just can't record the votes. A two-pronged thing. So I'm hoping that our minutes going forward will capture, again, I keep saying the same thing, the discussion and some of the thoughts and or concerns of our members here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wellahan. And just so you're aware, my family will tell you I'm a proud hoarder of paper. So I have our books from 2014, and I will be handing them over to Miss Feliciano so that she can see how they were typed up, so that it does capture everything. We're trying as hard as we can right now with, and so moving forward, they should be as clearly. You can see how the agenda came out today. Is this the agenda that you've been seeing all the other months? No, because the agenda now shows the action, and it identifies specifically what we're here to do and how we're going to take a vote. So we're trying to move forward, and again, and it's all part of that process with the building school committee capacity. But it's one day at a time. So hopefully these minutes starting as of August 19th will look a whole lot better.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So is there any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Motion passes unanimously. Reports of committees. Finance Operations Subcommittee, that the school committee vote to accept and approve the minutes of the 3/8 Finance Operations Subcommittee meeting.
So moved.
Subcommittee meeting. So that's Miss Wilson, is second by Dr. Rivera Colon. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The Local Control Subcommittee, that the school committee vote to accept and approve the minutes of the 6/10 Local Control Subcommittee meeting, subcommittee minutes.
Second.
Okay, so I have it by Dr. Rivera Colon, seconded by Mr. Collmore, right? Any discussion? For the local control? Oh, okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Great. Moving on to ongoing business. Updates from subcommittees. Policy and Governance Subcommittee. Miss Wilson.
With the Policy and Governance Subcommittee, I'm still waiting to get an update on our tracking system as to what's been posted online, to have that be updated. So we can then, in a timely manner, after it's gone for public comment, be able to come back and move the discussion and vote to have the new policy be adopted. And we're still waiting for quite a few, I believe, for that process. So the time is lagging. So so going forward, I would be hoping that if we take a vote to send it to the superintendent, then and then post, then we have the 2 weeks, and then as soon as that 2 weeks is up, it should be that we can get it back on the agenda for discussion of any public comment that was made and make any changes, and then the adoption. It just seems to be taking an extensive period of time to get policies updated. So I'm just expressing that concern, and I'll be working with the subcommittee members to schedule monthly meetings. So I just wanted everyone to know, and that we are focusing on the Bs, which were, and then also we will be hearing about that referral for the Yonder.
And Section H, I believe
well,
it was
yeah,
for
but
negotiations.
B first.
Yep.
B first, yes.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Finance Operations Subcommittee.
Thank you. I spoke with our finance director and was hoping to have a meeting in this month, August, and he recommended that we have it in September. That will be more in line with his quarterly reports. So I envision a meeting in September, and we will add topic tonight that we discussed on the meals to that agenda. So I'll inform membership or I'll poll membership of when our next meeting will be. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Subcommittee. Update on naming of new middle school.
Thank you. So we didn't meet last time because we had some technical difficulties. Our next meeting is going to be September 11th at 57 Sovok, and hopefully we will be all set with technology. In terms of naming of the new school, survey has gone out requesting the recommendations for naming. In the first couple of days, we had over 100 responses, which was really amazing. And we're still, we're going to have a meeting soon to look over the results of the survey so far. And yeah, so we will be discussing that in our next meeting.
Great. Thank you so much. And you get to speak again on, oh, wait, one moment. Mr. Wallahan, sorry about that.
Thank you. Thanks again for your work on this, Dr. Cologne. This topic was discussed at the joint, our last joint meeting, and just for the public to understand that the naming of any municipal building,
Sorry, go ahead.
the naming of any municipal building comes under the preview of the city council, so the public should be aware of that. I think we can make any recommendations we want as a body here, and I know we discussed that during the meeting. I know the members from both the school committee and the city council had a lot of history on Dr. Peck. You know, his bios. He's a well-respected guy. Even 100 years later, you know, his legacy continues. So I just want to make that known. Thank you.
Mayor Garcia.
So a colleague on this body actually revealed some information to me that I just want folks to know that I will pursue and look into. That although our ordinance might say city council has confirmation or last say, Mass General Law says otherwise. That's news to me. I just want to let the folks know that I will actively look into it. And if it turns out that I just want to do the right way. Now, if this body doesn't mind, then that's fine. I don't care one way or another. We can go in front of the council. They can be the last pick. But if it turns out that this body does indeed have that control, then there will be a new communication coming to the members of the council as well as this board, just to clarify that even further to make sure that we're following the proper steps. And so I'll look into that and keep you guys posted.
Thank you. Get to speak again, Dr. Rivera Colon. Oh, wait, one moment. Mr. Collmore.
Here, I don't know where this came from. This has been at least 50 years that the naming of a school building is the prerogative of school committee. Maybe down the road in the last 50 years, they made a change in the State House and didn't notify us or did notify us, and I haven't heard any communications or seen any communication to that effect. So I think history has to be looked back to when this was changed, or wasn't it ever be school committee?
So you said the prerogative of the school board, right?
Yes.
Right. So that's what was brought to my attention, as far as Mass General Law is concerned, confirms that, which is now in conflict with what our ordinance reads. So I just want to verify. I just got this just from the start of the meeting. I want to verify that, because if that is the case, you're absolutely right. I want to follow the laws. And again, if this body doesn't mind and wants to count, then so be it. But certainly want to. It's important for us to know that, right, and that we do the right thing. So I'll look into that, confirm that for you, bring that information back so we can be sure we understand the path we're going forward here.
Okay.
Got it.
All right. Great. Okay, one more time. Dr. Rivera Colon, Local Control Subcommittee.
Well, I already gave an update of what we just did. But just reiterating that the work is not done. We will have some meetings planned in the future for implementation and the way of reporting as well. So stay tuned.
Sounds great. Ms. Wilson?
So I know it's every other month, and I'm just, if you could let us know which meeting date, are you looking at the first or the second meeting date? Because then that would help subcommittees. If any subcommittee wanted to meet prior to, we would then be able to establish that date and time. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to the Joint City Council School Committee. Mr. Collmore.
Yeah, just a word, and I want to ask the superintendent. Are we having any problems with any of our boilers in the school system at the present time?
Yeah, currently, so as part of, how we planned on using our ESSER funds, there were some significant upgrades we wanted to do at some schools. One of the schools in particular that we looked at was McMahon School. So we wanted to implement not a boiler replacement, but a different type of way of heating the buildings. And after we got all the bids back, it was just way too expensive for us to be able to do it. But in doing that due diligence, the boiler itself and that system is a lot worse than initially reported to us. They found like a hole in this big tank that holds water that then gets heated and then distributes heat throughout the building. So there's a heightened level of urgency to address this problem, and we're going to be working with our facilities team to come up with what those options are. And a communication was sent to Mr. Wellahan from our executive director of finance, explaining that there is an issue and that a much more formal communication will go. But we are looking to get that in front of the joint council in the very near future.
So you're feeling as though we should wait until it comes out of Mr. Wellahan's committee to find out whether we should bring it to the city council committee? Or should we move on right away and start moving on with this?
I'd like to get it in front of either committee. I'd like to get that ball rolling. The sooner the better. So I know there's already a joint city council school committee meeting coming up in September. Yeah. Oh, I thought there was September.
Told us.
Look it up. I'll find out.
But our hopes in communicating that to Mr. Wellhan is that we get this in front of the school committee and city council as soon as possible. Obviously, school committee, being the first body, but if there's a joint committee, I think that also makes sense. But I'll leave that to the members of this body to decide who hears that issue.
Great. Thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and move on. Middle school building update. Or that's the packet.
It's in the
Okay, that's
packet.
an FYI. No out-of-state field trips and no student activity approvals, announcements. First day of school already next week. How exciting
Yes.
for grades 1 through 12. And September 4th for kindergarten and preschool. Are we doing that? Welcome back. Welcome back.
Yeah,
Welcome back.
So last year we actually One Holyoke stepped up and organized this whole thing. I haven't heard from them, but we'll organize something and get something out. It already is. Okay.
No, like when
No, we're talking about meet and greet on the first day of school. No, we're referring to just making sure there's people welcoming students on the first day of school. So I haven't talked to One Holyoke. That was something that they wanted to do last year, but if they're not coordinating something, we'll put something together and send something out to the committee. I would say, obviously, if you're a ward, choose a school in your ward, and then that's how we're gonna approach it.
Great, thank you. Communication team awards. And
Yeah. Can
you
I
want to
speak
do
to it?
all? Yeah. Do your announcement.
No, I just wanted to shout out our communications team, and Aaron Linville and Jenny Ostreicher and company. There is, a national school communications, group and board, and we submitted 7 publications. Or let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, 7 publications, and received an award from the National School Public Relations Association. On some of the publications that we put out. One of them being a video that we did about rezoning. Another one being the video that we made around our strategic plan moving forward together. Included in that is the link that shows you what publications our team put out there that we got recognized for. But this is really just on here as an FYI to all of you that our communications team is really strong and they're doing some good work and getting recognized for it. And the last piece was convocation is scheduled for Friday at 8:30. We're working to get buses so that staff can get bused from their schools. It's going to be in person on Friday at 8:30 in the morning. It'll be the first time that we've done it in person since prior to the pandemic. It's not something that's open to the public, but obviously school committee members are welcome to join. And that's just an opportunity where we get to address all of the staff. And it's the day before before the start of the school year. And we hope it's going to be a fun, inspiring event. Getting to kick off the start of the school year with all staff. And I just wanted to make sure you're all aware, you're all invited. And if you can, I hope to see you there.
Mr. Wallahan.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to acknowledge the media team for their recent achievement and their award. I read about that in the paper, so I was happy to see it as on the agenda. I think there's a lot of good things in our schools system, either the students or the teachers, that some of the positives don't make it to our meeting agenda. I know recently I just read where the Dean Tech students are involved with making the historical plaques throughout the city to acknowledge historical buildings. So again, that's something that I'm reading in the paper. I don't see it as, you know, part of any dialogue here in our school committee, either as a showcase or announcement of some sort. I know maybe even our team can come in and do a demonstration to us going forward, and you know, how do they attract students? Again, I just want to, I know I talked to Mr. Soto about this before, just sort of getting some of the positives in this city in this room. You know, we hear a lot of negatives out there in the press and et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to maybe refocus our look going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wallahan. So, seeing no more further, motion to
Just a
it.
comment.
Dr.
It's very
Caballero
quickly.
Roca, you wait always till the very end.
No, very quick.
Go for it.
It's just an announcement that St. Paul's Church is having a back-to-school event. DJ, barbers are going to cut children's hair, manicure, pedicure, you know,
When?
bouncing house, and backpacks with a lot of stuff. So it's a lot of fun. September 7th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Please go and bring your children.
10 to 2, September 7th?
September 7th. Yep.
10 to 2, great.
There's
Thank
actually
you for
a
that.
few backpack fairs.
Yeah,
coming along,
yeah, I
right?
know the one, the McNally Field, that's every year with the South Holyoke Safe Neighborhood Initiative, will be this Saturday, I believe.
Saturday, 11 to 3.
Yep, 11 to 3.
This Saturday?
Yep. Alrighty, and that's with our wonderful partnership with Ed Case. Alrighty, so motion to adjourn. Got it. So meeting ends at 8 p.m.
Bravo, 2 hours. Good job.
We made it.